lot of stories on, of course, what was happening in Ndiwa today, where the late Oro Jode's body was taken. My name is Eric Latif. Welcome.
And I'm Joy Doreen Bira. Well, let's start by looking at the highlights on tonight's bulletin.
Standoff as the Jode's remains arrive in Ndiwa.
Leaders urge Saitoti as a dedicated servant of the people.
Railroad South MP Paris Simam charged with corruption.
And former Member of Parliament gets 20 million Kenya shillings for illegal detention without trial.
KTN Prime begins now. Controversy marked the last journey of former Internal Security Assistant Minister Oro Jode's body to his final resting place in Unga village, Ndiwa constituency.
Groups of mourners demanded to view the body, which was charred during a fatal plane crash last weekend, but members of the family declined, leading to a standoff. We have the details.
From the minute the minister's body landed in Nyanza province, drama unfolded. Wailing residents who lined up along the route from Rongo to Ndiwa made the journey rather rough for the cottage. The initial plan had the body arriving at Kabunde airstrip in Homa Bay, but this changed to Suneka in Kisii County because the local one was not safe for landing. Residents had to rush back to the road Kopan Junction to wait for the body, but when it arrived, the hearse sped on to Ndiwa Market, 1 kilometer ahead. At the market, the hearse stopped briefly as locals demanded to view the body, but members of the family led by the widow Mary Ojode declined, and the driver sped off to the MP's farm in Unga village instead of proceeding to his late father's locale in Ratanga Center. On the way to Unga, a matatu carrying APs drove past the convoy and blocked the hearse, but a group of youth chased them away and proceeded on to Unga with the body. Outside the MP's homestead, there was a standoff as a group of relatives, led by elders, demanded the body goes to Ratanga for viewing, a demand that was rejected by Mary and her son Andy. The two then left the hearse, having fulfilled their cultural prerogative of delivering the body to the burial site, while relatives took over and drove the hearse to Ratanga Market. According to Luo tradition, the body could not be taken anywhere near his father's homestead because the late Ojode had built his own home in Unga. It was this cultural diktat that caused so much tension. The push and pull between the various factions squabbling over the funeral itinerary reduced considerably after mourners realized that they could not view the body in public. Focus now shifts back to the Assistant Minister's Unga home. From Homa Bay County, I am Fredo Mulo.
Thanks, Fred. A requiem mass for the late Internal Security Minister George Saitoti was held today at the Holy Family Basilica, where mourners paid glowing tribute to him. President Mwai Kibaki said the late mathematics professor had left a rich legacy. Sophia Wanuna attended the requiem mass and brings us the details.
Family, friends, relatives and top government officials gathered at the Holy Family Basilica for the Requiem Mass for the late Internal Security Minister George Saitoti. There was a somber mood in the sanctuary as Saitoti was eulogized by friends, family and senior government officials. Through a family friend, Margaret Saitoti paid glowing tribute to her late husband.
I realized early in our life together that you had a higher calling. Public life beckoned you, and apart from us and the extended family, serving the country was where your focus would be.
President Mwai Kibaki, who described the late Saitoti as a hard-working public servant, remembered him fondly.
Personally, I will always be thankful to Professor Saitoti for the competent manner in which he implemented the policy of free primary education that has remained very close to my heart since we introduced it 9 years ago.
Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who promised that the government would ensure that the truth behind the Sunday helicopter crash is uncovered and made known to the public, also told of the life of fear the late Saitoti lived following a food poisoning incident that was widely believed to have been an attempt on his life.
The unresolved attempted poisoning in the 1990s left him paranoid and worried. I experienced this firsthand during our campaigns for the National Rainbow Coalition in the year 2002, when he often insisted on taking his 2 armed bodyguards with him into the chopper meant for 5 people.
Former Ghanaian President Jerry Rawlings described Saitoti as the face of Kenya.
I was saddened when I saw on Al Jazeera that some people were celebrating his demise. And that's when I thought, with the work I'm doing over there, I will be here to demonstrate my solidarity with his task to bring security to his country.
The body of the late Internal Security Minister will leave Lee Funeral Home tomorrow morning for Kitengela, where he will be laid to rest at his Enka City home. KTN will bring you live coverage of the event. Maintaining peace before, during and after the forthcoming general elections is one of the ways that leaders have said would be the best way for Kenyans to pay tribute to the late Professor George Saitoti. Reporting for KTN at the Holy Family Basilica, I'm Sophia Wanuna.
Now, will landlords hike rent once the government fully implements the collection of rental income taxes across the country? Tenants are a worried lot following Finance Minister Robinson Gedai's declaration that the KRA should map out residential areas in order to collect taxes that should be levied on landlords across the country. While analysts say that taxes should have no bearing on the rent, Kenyans fear that once the proposal is implemented, they will have to shoulder the burden. Here is KTN's Wilkis Nyabwa with the report.
Finance Minister Robinson Gedai kicked up a storm when he directed the Kenya Revenue Authority to map all residential areas to compel landlords to pay tax, sparking fears that landlords will then pass their additional costs to tenants, causing rents to rise across the country. But not so fast. Policy and risk experts say the proposal to tax landlords is nothing out of the ordinary.
This is not a new thing. This is a thing which is already in the law. It's only that people are avoiding using. And the taxman basically is saying, now I think we have come to realize that we are going to know you.
According to Murimi, owning a building and renting it out amounts to running a business of sorts, which requires one to remit tax calculated on the net profit, except that many landlords have up until now successfully managed to evade paying this tax.
What is new in the budget is that the taxman is putting the spotlight. He's saying, from the analysis of the tax returns which people have filed, landlords seem not to have filed as many as the number of houses that he thinks are available in the country.
The mapping of residential areas is expected to make it easier to tell landlords who pay their taxes from those who don't. The government hopes to raise 90 billion shillings through taxes levied on landlords. Ideally, the landlord should shoulder the rental income tax.
So every business pays tax. They don't increase their prices because they are paying tax. So there is nothing unique with a landlord. It's just a business that maybe was not aware that they were supposed to be paying tax. The landlords should now come and ask excuse me, now that we are going to pay taxation, are we going to get better security from the government?
Already several commercial properties are reported to be remitting their rental income taxes regularly, but it is the many landlords in residential areas with small and medium-sized properties who have up until now evaded the taxman. They who are now sparking fears among tenants who foresee their rents rising to cover the additional costs, so that the words "the taxman cometh" are now perceived to spell doom. Wilkis Danyabwa, KTN Prime.
I like that line, "the taxman cometh."
Yeah, it actually is coming. Now, that story leads us to our big question tonight, and we're asking, would landlords be justified in hiking rent after being included in the tax bracket?
You know, this is a very emotive subject. We'd love to know what you think. SMS us your yes or no opinion, plus a brief comment to the number 8040. We'll be sampling some of your comments as we go along in this bulletin, and also give you the poll result at the end of this live newscast. Now, the modern commuter rail, which originates from Syokimau and will make its way to the CBD, will be a welcome mode of transport for many Kenyans who would otherwise be stuck in traffic for hours going to and from work.
In his budget speech yesterday, Finance Minister Robinson Githae allocated a little over R1 billion to complete the modernization of the railway, which began 2 years ago. KTN's Anki Guta reports on the new Iron Snake in town.
This is the Syokimau railway station. Once it's fully operational, it will serve up to 20,000 passengers daily. The line, which is part of a 25 billion shilling public-private partnership project, aims at improving transport for commuters and modernize Kenya's railways, which have largely been stuck in their colonial state, with limited overhauls since the first tracks were laid in 1896. Built during the scramble for Africa by Europe, there was little more purpose to the railway that would also traverse Uganda than to cement the British Empire's colonial rule. 2,498 workers would die during its construction. Construction began in Mombasa in what was then British East Africa in 1896 and finished at the line's terminus in Kisumu in 1901. But long after the colonialists were gone and the railways was handed over to the East African Railways and Harbours and then later the Kenya Railways Corporation, lack of government support and mismanagement saw the railway sector run down, and Kenyans themselves have not helped either. They have sabotaged the sector by occasionally uprooting the railway lines or stealing the metal for sale as scrap, which is later melted down.
Wale ambaye wanaiba na wale ambaye wananunua, hawa wote tutakusanya na kupeleka mahakamani.
Commuter trains have not fared much better. Kenyan commuter trains are known for overloading and commuters dangerously clinging on to moving trains. To its credit, the government has been working on a plan to jumpstart the sector by constructing new lines, a move which has received a major boost yesterday, with Finance Minister Robinson Githae allocating 1.45 billion shillings to support the railway modernization program.
This first phase of commuter upgrade project will enable our international guests and city residents commuting through Mombasa Road to access a faster and affordable and a more comfortable commuter railway service.
He also imposed heavy sanctions on unscrupulous scrap metal dealers who buy stolen and vandalized rails, which he termed as economic sabotage. The new railway will be connected to the main line at Embakasi Station and the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The development is expected to offload passenger traffic from Mombasa Road that will help decongest perennially choked Uhuru Highway by providing alternative access to JKIA through a 5-minute shuttle service.
Some Kenyans may be forgiven for thinking that railway lines such as this one that I'm walking on are hallmarks of a lost opportunity in transportation. But the reality is that railway lines like these are important for so many Kenyans who have no other access to the CBD. But with the modernization of the commuter rail, even middle-class Kenyans will soon find themselves leaving their cars parked at railway stations and taking an ultra-modern ride to the city center. Reporting for KTN in Nairobi, I'm Anki Guta.
Well, this Vision 2030 is actually quite a dream, right?
It is a dream, but you know, the railway plan is quite a good one. With all the number of cars we have in the city, it would be quite a good plan there. Now, it's a day after Finance Minister termed the theft of rail lines economic sabotage. Police in Mombasa have arrested 2 people suspected of stealing rail lines belonging to the Rift Valley Railways.
In his budget speech yesterday, Githai recommended 1 million shillings fine or a 3-year jail term for those caught stealing scrap metal. Esther Kahumbi reports from Mombasa.
It's turning out to be a big business dealing in scrap metal. Those involved in the trade raking in millions of shillings, all competing to meet the high demand for scrap metal in China and India. The rail cuts and sleepers intercepted between Wednesday night and Thursday morning are estimated to be worth 30 million shillings. Coast Provincial Police Officer Agri Adoli confirming the arrest of 2 suspects who are to be arraigned in court.
Wale ambaye wanaiba na wale ambaye wananunua, hawa wote tutakusanya na kupeleka mahakamani. Kwa maana hatuwezi kubali kampuni, mtu afungue kampuni na akose kujua atapata wapi vyuma.
The arrests come just days after KTN highlighted the ongoing theft of railway material, which according to the Rift Valley Railways is a well-organized syndicate which is robbing the country 7 million shillings every month. RVR blaming a weak law which he says does little to deter the culprits.
Ukiona kitendo kama hichi, kwanza ujue si ya kwanza. Kwa hivyo mtu kama huyu alifaulu huko mbele alifaulu, lakini wakati huu hakufaulu. Pia ujue hayuko peke yake.
However, in this year's budget reading, Finance Minister Njeru Githai has proposed a fine of 1 million shillings for those found culpable. This before the law is amended with stiffer penalties.
People have even gone as far as even vandalizing the rail, the road, the guards, road guards.
Case in point is this road, the main highway approaching Mombasa from Nairobi, which is actually one of the most dangerous points of the Mombasa-Nairobi highway. And for a stretch of about 2 kilometers, guardrails fitted on this road are no longer there. Though part of it has been destroyed in accidents, there is also evidence of clear vandalism. The guardrails literally cut off, some of it uprooted, leaving the dual carriageway bare, a big risk to motorists using the road, and this just a few years after it was constructed. Esther Kahumbi, KTN, Mombasa.
Second-hand clothes dealers are breathing a sigh of relief following the government move to reduce import duty on second-hand clothes. The traders say the move will help boost their businesses, and second-hand clothes dealers say majority of their colleagues were forced out of the business or out of the trade after the cost of import duty on second-hand clothes shot up to 2 million shillings per 20-foot container.
A day after Finance Minister Robinson Githai announced an import duty reduction for second-hand clothes dealers, KTN ventured into the Gikomba open-air market to sample views of traders.
Tunafurahia kuona ya kwamba serikali imefikiria about Mutuba because informally is the largest employment sector.
This is a prayer we have been praying for about 5 years now or more.
They say high import duty was killing their business slowly. For instance, traders say they are forced to fork 2 million shillings for each container with bales of second-hand clothes when import duty is slapped on the products, and this is exclusive of transport and other overhead costs.
Most of us had loans. We had failed to pay because we pay with the hold. Nobody is to buy.
Retailers of second-hand clothes concur that high import duty was also affecting customers. Before import duty was hiked, they used to buy a bale of clothes for between 10 to 12,000 shillings depending on products.
Hapo mbeleni kununua na 11 kwa naweza kuuza na 50, wanachukua wengi, wanakuwa customer ni wengi. Sasa raundi hii sema kweli maisha imekuwa ngumu sana. Sababu nikifungua ikiwa mpya mtu akame nampatia na 200.
They are upbeat that the reduction of import duty from 1.9 million shillings per 20-foot container to 1.1 million shillings will boost trade in second-hand clothes.
Kila mtu akipata tu pesa toke kidogo, unaweza anza hata na shilingi 1000 kununua tu mashati kidogo, unapiga pasi unaenda kuzungusha na
wenye tu wanatuuzia hao ni wanachukua, tunaomba tu kile wameambiwa watuteremshie na sisi tuweze kuwa maisha yaweze kuwa rahisi kidogo kwetu.
But some have argued that the government move on second-hand clothes will kill the local textile industry. Cotton farming died some decades ago after local textile industries collapsed. No much effort has been done to revive the textile industry, but importers of second-hand clothes say the two should run shoulder to shoulder.
They have been telling us the same thing. We have been waited, and we don't see the outcome. So let us sell the mutumba which we are seeing.
Ndio sasa hata wakikuza hizo pamba, they have to consider the already made clothes, the second-hand clothes.
Players in the small and medium enterprises are happy about the waiver of import duty and hope this will trickle down to the small traders on the ground. For KTN, I'm Patrick Amimo.
Well, let's take some tough questions. Where did HIV originate from? When in history did it first infect human beings? What does the future hold in the fight against the deadly virus? Now, these are some of the tough questions that KTN's Ansoy Mwendia put to the man who is credited for discovering HIV as a cause for AIDS. Professor Anthony Gallo from the University of Maryland in the USA was visiting the University of Nairobi.
Professor Anthony Gallo is a controversial yet world-respected medical researcher. In 1983, the American researcher published evidence linking HIV to AIDS. Earlier that year, a French researcher, Dr. Luc Montagnier, had published evidence that he had discovered the virus that was causing wasting, that was common among homosexuals and injecting drug users. He called the virus LAV. Professor Gallo called his HTLV3. But many claimed Gallo had used a virus that originated from Montagnier's laboratory. Later, the two versions were merged to form what is today known as HIV. But perhaps a question that still attracts many theories is where the virus came from.
We assumed this came into hunters, and there was a sensitivity for a while in Africa. Oh, not from us, don't blame us. Nobody was blaming, but there was a sensitivity. Are you thinking there was contact, man to animal? Yeah, but not in an insulting way. Food.
Monkeys in Africa and Europe were found to have a virus similar to HIV, known as SIV. But many other theories abound, including one that HIV was created in a laboratory.
It's an evil of the internet. You have people today saying anything they want with knowing nothing. The conspiracy theories of every type are easily proven to be nonsense.
Professor Gallo says current trends where Africa carries the bigger burden of HIV in the world may be explained from the origin of the virus.
Africa got the early infection, but you didn't have a big epidemic except by migration that would only, poverty and migration increasing prostitution.
The earliest documented case of AIDS dates back to 1959 in Congo. Another case was identified in 1966 in the United States. Today, more than 34 million people worldwide have died of AIDS-related causes, and many more are infected. I asked Professor Gallo if he had any idea his laboratory discovery would result in a global disaster not too long afterwards.
By late 83, early 84, we knew it was, I can't say we knew it was global, but we knew it was widespread. We knew it's fatal. We knew a high percentage of people will die. We knew we didn't have any treatment. I didn't expect treatment to be forthcoming, and so therefore we knew that there was a disaster coming, yes.
30 years on, Professor Gallo, now working with his co-discoverer Montagnier, is involved in the search for a vaccine.
We need a very special kind of vaccine, and one that has the immune system ready always, throughout life. It can't take a break and go down and be stimulated again from your vaccination history, like polio or like all other vaccines. This is different.
And that special vaccine is what researchers the world over are looking for. Gallo is optimistic the goal is achievable. The only question is, when will a viable vaccine be found? No one seems to know for sure. Ansoy Mwendia, KTN Prime.
Now, the Finance Minister in his budget speech yesterday directed the KRA to map out areas and make sure that landlords are now paying taxes. The question tonight, and our big question is, Would landlords now then be justified to hike rent after being included in the tax bracket? We'd love to know what you think. SMS number is 8040. Give us your name, your yes or no comment, plus a brief comment. We'll be giving you some of the poll result at the end of this live newscast. Thank you very much. John in Nairobi says, yes, it's a trend in Kenya to pass any payments to consumers, so tenants must bear the cost. Another yes here, unfortunately, yes, many houses are built or bought on loan or mortgage, and this same government has forced interest up to 25% from what we borrowed at 12%. The option is default with foreclosure. That's Louis of Nairobi. Somebody's asking, just why do you imagine the landlords will increase rents? Keep these SMSs coming in. We'd love to know what you think. The number is 8040. Joe, you have some more SMSs even?
Thanks, Eric. Now you're watching KTN Prime, and just ahead, Eldoret South Member of Parliament Paris Sinan charged with corruption. Do stay with us.
In the new Woman's Instinct magazine, KTN's Isabella Kituri on how she balances being father and mother to her son. Allure of pregnant women. Get Woman's Instinct in your copy of The Standard every Saturday.
At UAP, we enhance lives across Africa. Insurance, investment management, property investment, and financial advisory. UAP, better, simple life. I'm Zach. I walked my first steps when I was 1. And 8 years ago, I walked my last. I'm headed for South Africa because that's where the nearest rehabilitation center for spinal cord injuries is. I'm doing this to raise 250 million shillings for a facility of our own here, so others can have access to the treatment I didn't.
Nyanya, patie uji. Asante.
Siri yako ni nini?
Hakuna siri.
But it's no longer a secret. Zoya Sugar, sweetening Kenya since 1970.
Are you looking to buy a commercial property, a holiday home, or make a valuable investment? Come to the most exclusive and elegant property exhibition happening right in your neighborhood. Presenting bigger and better, the Mega Property Festival 2012 at the Visa Usual Center, Ring Road, Parklands on the 15th to 17th June in conjunction with the East African Housing Expo and Magazine. Come visit various local and international property exhibitors under one roof. For stand bookings and inquiry, call 0733 993393 or email info@elegantexpo.com. Proudly sponsored by Dunhill Consulting, Corey Shell Beach Apartments, Unesta, and Hiranandani. Proudly partnered with the Standard Group and Asian Weekly.
And now, introducing another one from Home of Quality. Triple distilled Crescent Vodka. Now available. Keroche Breweries Limited. Leaders in quality. The home of quality. Truly Kenyan.
Strength and wisdom beyond borders.
New Airwick Freshmatic. Just set the timer and it releases bursts of fresh fragrance automatically and brightens your home.
Better Healthy Hands, Lesson 2.
Every day, our hands pick up germs, and we pass it on to others. Germs cause illnesses, but stopping germs is easy when we bathe and wash our hands regularly with Dettol.
Mom, today we learned how to fight germs with Dettol soap. Good health starts with healthy hands.
The Kabarak University Half Marathon will be held on 30th June 2012 in Mogotio town. The race begins from 6 a.m. at the Equator and finishes at the Kabarak University grounds. Registration is 300 shillings for the 21-kilometer half marathon, 1,000 shillings for the 5-kilometer corporate race, and 100 shillings for the children's race. You can register at all Transnational Bank branches, Mobile World offices, and CAS offices North Rift. Registration closes on 25th June. There are great cash prizes and heifers to be won. Proceeds from the marathon will help support Gata Baby Care for abandoned children. Kabarak University, world-class education in biblical perspective.
It takes 1 second to enter, 1 second to come out of hiding, and 1 second to attack you.
Mosquito bites cause malaria.
1 second to infect you.
Not anymore. Now I won't give any of you even 1 second.
New Mortin Doom Power Guard.
Mortin Doom!
Mortin Doom Power Guard with new scientifically proven powerful formula not only kills faster but also longer by killing mosquitoes that surface later, and it keeps killing for up to 1 week.
Even 1 second counts when it's my family's protection.
Come on, get asleep.
New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer.
Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime.
And moving on to other stories, Eldoret South Member of Parliament Paris Simam, alongside her husband Enoch Simam, appeared before the Eldoret Principal Magistrate Dolphina Alego, charged with 3 counts of corruption. However, the two denied the charges and were released in a 500,000 shilling bond. They were charged with fraudulently acquiring 1.9 million shillings and another 2.5 million from the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, being payment for services that were insufficiently rendered. A warrant of arrest that had been issued against her and her husband was however lifted after their appearance before the court. Simam's lawyer Chemwok Michael said that her client had not received any summonses over the charges, saying that she was scheduled to travel to Brazil for an environmental forum. The case will be mentioned next month.
Still in the courts, a former detainee, Otieno Makonyango, will receive 20 million shillings from the government in compensation for unlawful detention. Court of Appeal Judge Kalpana Rawal directed the state through the Office of the Attorney General to pay money to Makonyango. Makonyango had filed a case in court seeking compensation from the state for unlawful detention for 5 years and violation of his rights. Makonyango, who is a former Alego Songa MP and a journalist, was detained by the government in 1983 on suspicion of involvement in the August 1st, 1982 attempted coup in October last year. Prime Minister Raila Odinga, a former detainee himself, was summoned by Lady Justice Kalpana Rawal to testify over a statement that he signed in favor of Makonyango. Raila told the court that they were tortured by parliamentary officers in the cells following their arrests after the 1982 abortive coup.
He stayed on for several days because of the events which unfolded in went to defeat the end of justice. But
and also Gambian Bensouda Ferto today becomes International Criminal Court's Chief Prosecutor, the second in the court's history and the first African woman. She was sworn into office at noon Kenya time, and she takes over from Luis Moreno Campo, who was famously quoted as saying he would make an example of Kenya in the ongoing cases, which 4 Kenyans are standing trial over the 2007-2008 post-election violence. It is 9 years since the ICC was established, with notions of ending impunity for atrocities that shock the conscience of humanity, but with only one conviction in its history, with most cases from Africa and relations with some African states also at breaking point. The court's reputation leaves much to be desired. Under Ocampo's tenure, opportunities to investigate abuses in and were ignored, prompting a widespread belief within Africa that the court is an imperialist organ of Western governments, and the fact that Bensouda is an African is likely to mean that the African Union may warm up to her. Her most immediate task will be to resolve the standoff with Libya amid concern for the welfare of ICC envoys who have been placed in a preventative detention imprisoned by the Libyan government for 45 days for allegedly threatening Libya's national security.
Finally, to our families, were clearly defined right from the start. I realized early in our life together that you had a higher calling. Public life beckoned you, and apart from us and the extended family, serving the country was where your focus would be.
In the new Woman's Instinct magazine, KTN's Isabella Kituri on how she balances being father and mother to her son. Allure of pregnant women. Get Woman's Instinct in your copy of The Standard every Saturday.
It is okay for them to use contraceptives because to avoid early pregnancies, to avoid diseases like STIs and STDs,
I think it's not okay because there are many side effects. So both need to understand first what they are all about and their side effects.
I think it's fine as long as your moral understanding and religious understanding of dating allows you to. It's okay if if you engage in sex before marriage. It's okay if you use the contraceptive so that you can avoid unplanned events.
Digital migration is on. Catch the beautiful colors, the clarity, the wide choice of entertainment on your TV now. Digital TV, a beautiful new world of entertainment.
Years now, Old Mutual has helped people invest to secure their future. With this experience comes much wisdom. Wisdom to enable you to do great things.
Game on!
A lot of energy. We had fun, and good thing about it, everybody enjoyed itself. We're looking to come back next year.
That may be good enough for these gems, but gems are getting tougher. You need advanced protection. Lifebuoy Advanced Lifebuoy gives protection against 10 infection-causing germs. 10 infection-causing germs. 1 advanced protection. Lifebuoy.
It's time for us now to look at the business of the day, and joining us in the studio is Bonnie Tunya. Bonnie, the price of milk came down yesterday. That's good news, isn't it?
Well, it is good news, Eric, but also some sad news coupled with that, because we've just gotten news that a major drying plant in one of our top creameries in Eldoret has blown up. So really it's counterproductive, but yes, prices of milk reduced by 10 shillings. It is reason to celebrate.
Well, give us the details next.
Well, the processing of milk powder in the North Rift has received a blow following an explosion at the Cooperative Creameries drying plant in Eldoret. This comes at a time when the region is facing an increased production in milk that would have otherwise been converted to powder. But as KTN's Mercy Kandia reports, the plant repairs will take up to 1 week.
The 9 a.m. explosion left the walls of the Kenya Cooperative Creamery's milk dryer plant in Eldoret ripped off.
We actually started seeing some black specks in our powder, and it triggered us to react what could be the problem. So immediately our operator started switching off the whole system, and the workers, evacuating the workers as per the procedures. And within no time we had a big bang and a cloud of fire outside the exhauster.
The plant was in the process of producing 500 bags of 25 kilograms milk powder, a process that has been cut short for the next 1 week as the plant is repaired. The fire was put out with no casualties being reported.
We shall involve what were power to come also check maybe whether the electrical faults zile ziko hapo juu.
The plant had started operations last week in the wake of high milk production that has seen milk production gradually increase, creating a need to convert excess milk to milk powder. This being a high season for milk production here in the North Rift region, farmers hope that the dry milk processing plant will be restored soon and the excess milk will not go into waste. Mercy Kandi reporting for KTN Business Today in the county of Uasin Gishu.
Well, indeed, the Treasury might not have raided the usual taxation hunting grounds in the budget, since it expects major reforms in the value-added tax regime. Now, this is according to analysts who, as Zawadi Mudibo reports, predicts tougher times ahead for Kenyans.
Life is bound to be a lot more taxing, literally, should the VAT Bill 2012, yet to be tabled at the floor of the House, sail through as it is. The bill proposes to introduce tax on commonly used items that are currently tax-exempt or zero-rated, including essentials like flour, milk, bread and sanitary towels. Through the Act, Kenya Revenue Authority has powers to revise taxes levied on every quarter, with the likelihood of seeing a change in pricing of beer, wines and spirits every 3 months. Rajesh Shah believes Finance Minister Njeru Githae refrained from the traditional hunting grounds to increase government revenue, including the popular sin taxes, where taxation for luxury items like alcohol and cigarettes have always gone up, because it is eyeing increased reforms in tax administration and in particular the changes that will be brought about by the bill.
Looking at the fundamentals of the economy, how it is, the tax reforms in terms of what the government is planning to do, it will actually result in the government being able to challenge KRA and make sure them as administrators collect the target they've been given, which is around 870 billion shillings.
Also noted was the limited attention paid to agricultural extension officers and other grassroots agents that have potential to guide smallholder farmers turn from subsistence to commercial farming, with the Agricultural Finance Corporation, the state-owned farmers funding institution, conspicuously missing out on the priority list by Treasury. Zawadi Mdibo, KTN Business Today.
And now the expected digital migration from analog television signals received a major boost yesterday. This follows announcement by the Treasury that duty on all imported set-top boxes will come down in the 2012-2013 fiscal year. Philip Keitani has the details.
The tax relief is expected to bring the cost of the set boxes to between 4,500 shillings and 6,000 shillings, down from the current 8,000 shillings and 6,000 shillings respectively. The cost of the device has been one of the major hindrances to the migration into digital TV from the current analog.
Mr. Speaker, as all members may be aware, the entire world is targeting the year 2015 as the deadline to migrate from analog to digital television signals. To make the set-top boxes, which form an integral part of this migration, available to Kenyans at affordable price, I propose to remove duty on the importation of these gadgets.
While the world has a deadline of 2015 to migrate, Kenya had set an ambitious deadline of 2012. This has, however, been met with several challenges, key among them the high cost of the set-top boxes, as well as lack of enough content from the local broadcasting firms. Statistics from the Industry Regulator Communication Commission of Kenya, CCK, shows that the country has about 4 million analog TV sets.
Mr. Speaker, the telecommunication and ICT subsectors have continued to play a critical role in the entire economy. In order to continue supporting these critical subsectors and further spur economic growth, I propose to remove duty on all imported software to make it cheaper for our people and further attract foreign investors in the industry.
The switch is expected to offer large content generation opportunities as well as expand investor opportunities for investors in extraterrestrial TV, commercial wireless broadband, and broadcasting TV. Philip Keitan for KTN Business Today.
Well, indeed, and moving on, the Catering and Tourism Development and Levy Trustees, CTDLT, have joined calls for the amendment of the Alcoholic Control Act, saying it was affecting the tourism sector. The government's agency noted that the 2% catering levy cash dropped significantly once the act, popularly known as the Mutudho Law, came into force. Now, according to the CTDLT CEO Alan Shenane, though the law was introduced in good faith, there was a need for some actions to be amended, as Shenane was speaking at the Lake Naivasha Simba Lodge in Naivasha during a one-day stakeholders meeting.
The Alcohol Act is good. I don't think introducing punitive measures should be the way forward. I think we should copy, we should benchmark. What can we just check? How is it being done in Uganda? And perhaps so that, and perhaps emulate and see what best practices we can copy and put into the law.
And now time to look at how your money is performing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, coming up next. Well, and that's your business. Let's do this again next week. My name is Bonnie Tunya.
Before we move to the sports, with the general elections beckoning, politicians are out to form formidable alliances to trounce their opponents at the ballot. This has seen politicians come out in regalia to appease their supporters. Well, this week there is a general political one undertaking a recruitment drive. Here is this week's dose of news short.
There is a new general in town, and don't be confused, it is not in any way the chief of the Kenyan Defence Forces.
Mimi ninaitwa Ababu na Mwamba, mtu ambaye hukana watu mundu humundu, na yeye ni generali.
This general from Budalangi is preparing his troops for a battle. A political battle, but before that, he needs reinforcements.
Ni generali wa jeshi la ukombozi. Kila mahali ninapoenda, ninatafuta recruitment. Na recruit wanajeshi wapi ambao wako tayari kwa vita vikamilifu vya ukombozi.
It appears ODM has left the dirty work for the Budalangi General to fortify its base in central Kenya from its battered self.
Kama nyinyi muko tayari kutembea na generali, munipe salute. Munipe salute. Salute. Alafu nikisema fire, nataka kusikia fire mara 3. Fire! Fire, fire, fire. Fire! Fire! Fire!
But Shujaa Maina Njenga had his own ideas.
Tunawapenda sana, wako kila mtu na chama yake, basi mtu akija kwetu aje apate sisi kwa nyumba yetu. Lakini sisi hatuwezi kuingia kwa mfuko ya mtu yoyote.
This Njenga guy is taking us round in circles, literally. But it appears age is catching up with the former Mungiki general. Now let's try this dance from the land of Mulembe. Here, all you need to do is move your shoulders. This time round, it appears to have worked. Well, this must be very confusing, and it has caused Shebesh to think quite hard if indeed she is of sound mind.
Mimi naitwa Recho Wamboi, Wamboi wa pale ya Maribu. Na mimi kutoka kitambo, watu wamesema kichwa yangu iliruka.
There you have it. Amazing.
Kichwa yangu iliruka.
So what next for the succession politics that is clouded with all sorts of absurdity, sycophancy and realignments, all in the quest for power?
Tumetoka Mombasa asubuhi. Tulikuwa tumeenda kusomewa. Yaani kusomewa kama watoto. Na tukakaa kama watoto watulivu, tukasomewa.
And he is back, Miguna, the man haunting Tinga over his reveal-all book, peeling back the mask. Wonders never cease. Tinga and Miguna talking? What the two spoke about, we may never know, but whoever said that in politics there are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests, was right. Nonetheless, even with Miguna's squared book suspense, Tinga still has his legion of fans. There is someone out there who wants to be like Tinga when he grows up. But it was even more confusing for the man in charge of the country's past.
Mkubwa, karibia mkubwa, hapa. Kuja. Hapo.
Which way, Mr. Gidhaya, for the coveted photo shoot? Samogina, KTN News Shots.
In the new Woman's Instinct magazine, KTN's Isabella Kituri on how she balances being father and mother to her son. Allure of pregnant women. Get Woman's Instinct in your copy of The Standard every Saturday.
Tusikubali kuvurugana. Wanataka tuvurugane, wageni wenyewe. Chungeni ujirani na utu. Shetani ashindwe.
Drosti Hof Merlot. Merlot is a red wine with medium to full body and herbaceous flavors. Merlot is typically softer in taste than Cabernet Sauvignon. Swirling aerates your wine flavors and aromas include blackberry, baked cherries, plums, chocolate and mocha. This varietal goes well with pastas and red meat dishes. Drosti Hof. Every year is a good year.
Welcome to KTN Sport Today. Double world champion Vivian Cheruiyot, Joyce Chepkurui and Sally Kipyego earned themselves an Olympic ticket after podium finishes in the 10,000 meter race as the national champion.